Hello there, very good evening and welcome to the news at 6. Glad you could join us here on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Preeti Shilji and here are the headlines. BJP's economic resolution focuses on demonetization. Party executive calls it a historic step to contain black money, terror, fake currency notes rackets and insurgency. In Uttar Pradesh, warring factions of the Samajwadi Party fails to reach a truce. Akhilesh Yadav camp starts work on the election manifesto while the Bahujan Samaj Party releases the third list of candidates. Cold wave conditions intensify in North India. Showers and snowfall, lower temperatures in Delhi, Punjab, Haryana, Himachal and Kashmir. The Srinagar-Jammu National Highway remains closed. And a gunman goes on a rampage inside a Florida airport, kills 5 people and injures 8. Arrested suspect has been identified as a former armyman. Starting with the BJP National Executive, which has unanimously congratulated the Narendra Modi government for its note ban decision and the successful and credible implementation of the same. An economic resolution moved by Finance Minister Arun Jaitley termed demonetization a sacred and patriotic move. It also calls a step and effort to transfer black money from the tax non-compliant to the poor and the weak. The resolution also states that demonetization was necessary for decimating the parallel economy of black money and for smooth functioning of the GST regime in the near future. Briefing the media after the adoption of the economic resolution, Commerce Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said that data until November end shows that income and revenue of state governments had increased. The minister also launched an attack on the opposition, saying its negative propaganda had been rejected by the people.
Income or revenue of the state badi hai, except maybe Bengal. क्योंकि मध्य प्रदेश हो, उत्तर प्रदेश हो, हरियाणा हो, महाराष्ट्र हो, सभी जगह revenue generation in November has not suffered. हिम्मत और स्टैमिना के साथ इस सरकार काम करके ये डिमोनेटाइजेशन के प्रोग्राम ले आए और उसमें अंत में 50 दिन के बाद आर्थिक और सामाजिक दृष्टिकोण से जिन जिन वर्गों को राहत मिलना है उनको प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कुछ एक्सटेंड भी किया.
Well, the Prime Minister Narendra Modi presented the closing remarks at the BJP National Executive. He praised the Indian society for innate strength in fighting ills.
The Prime Minister referred to the tradition of India with reference to various ills of the country. There is a unique feature of Indian society that the determination to fight against the ills comes from the inner strength of the society of India. ये जो करेंसी का अनियंत्रित विस्तार होता है, ये भ्रष्टाचार की सबसे बड़ी जननी होती है और भ्रष्टाचार भी अपने आप में एक बहुत बड़ा अभिशाप है, बुराई है.
All right, for more on this story, we've got Pranav Goswami, our correspondent, joining us, in fact, live from the BJP headquarters. Pranav, good evening. As we can see, obviously, from that economic resolution that was adopted, that was accepted by everyone, you know, the words that are being used for demonetization, sacred, also calling it a historic step, calling it a patriotic move. We definitely do know how the election campaigning is going to pan out from here.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. And BJP seems to be very confident and very optimistic that demonetization issue will be helping BJP in those 5 states where assembly elections are going to take place. And especially Prime Minister Narendra Modi stated very categorically that common people face some difficulties after demonetization, but they supported this decision because that decision was against corruption and against black money. So Prime Minister said, and Prime Minister also added that BJP is wanting that there should be a transparency, especially in the funding of political parties, and Prime Minister also indicated that government will be wanting to introduce some sort of election reforms, so that the entire election process should be transparent and free and fair. This executive meeting is certainly going to be very crucial, especially because we know that elections of 5 states has been announced, and this is going to be the real test for BJP after demonetization, that this issue is going to help BJP, or this will be actually the people will be against this decision by government.
Absolutely, and this is obviously a big test that is going to be for the BJP, where we do understand they're going to completely own demonetization. They're going to make it their biggest platform, and they're of course hoping, like you're pointing out, hoping that this is of course going to be the main issue on which the voters of course going to vote for them. Thanks so much, Pranav, for joining us for those details coming in, of course, from the BJP National Executive. Meanwhile, upping the ante, in fact, against the NDA government, the government and also the Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the issue of demonetization. The Congress today held protests at district headquarters at several places in the country. The main opposition party has also put forward many demands, such as an income tax and sales tax rebate of 50% for small shopkeepers and businesses, and a compensation of 25,000 rupees for women who've been hit hard by demonetization. The party will also hold a national convention on the 11th of this month in New Delhi that is expected to be attended by workers and leaders from across the country.
नोटबंदी के बाद 2 महीने के बाद आज भी पूरा देश में लोग परेशानी है। जब तक लोग दुखी हैं, हमारा आंदोलन जारी रहेगा।
धन हमारा और आदेश आपका नहीं चलेगा। इसलिए सरकार को पैसा जो विड्रा करने की है, वो पावर जो रेस्ट्रिक्ट की है उसको विड्रा की जाए, और आप जो पैसा रेस्ट्रिक्ट कर रहे हो बैंक में, तो जिन बैंक होल्डर्स का पैसा आप रोक रहे हो उन्हें 18% का ब्याज दिया जाए।
Now to the Samajwadi Party saga, and hectic parleys resumed on Saturday as the warring factions of the party tried to reach a truce. However, there was no visible respite. Meanwhile, the Chief Minister's camp has started preparing the manifesto, which will firmly focus on rural and urban youth.
The battle between the father-son duo of the Samajwadi Party shows no signs of letting up. Lucknow saw a spate of meetings take place as the warring factions tried to work out a truce formula acceptable to both Mulayam and Akhilesh. The Akhilesh Yadav faction of the Samajwadi Party has almost given up on the possibility of reconciliation and has now started preparing for the assembly elections.
सिंबल का जो मामला है वो चुनाव आयोग के सामने है, और 100% वो सिंबल समाजवादी पार्टी को अखिलेश यादव जी की राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्षता में मिलेगा। उसी के आधार पर चुनाव लड़ना है। हम लोग चुनाव की तैयारी कर रहे हैं, और बहुत जल्दी ही फील्ड में आपको चुनाव का सारा काम शुरू होते हुए नजर आएगा। सारे प्रत्याशियों को क्षेत्रों में भेजा जा चुका है, तो इसमें कोई सुलह सफाई का मामला नहीं है।
Meanwhile, Mayawati announced BSP's third list of candidates for 100 more assembly seats on Saturday, but she also took pot shots at the ongoing tussle within the Samajwadi Party.
प्रदेश की जनता को गुमराह करने के लिए आए दिन इस्तेमाल किए जा रहे किस्म किस्म के हथकंडों से भी सावधान करने के लिए ये बैठक बुलाई गई है, ताकि फिर यहाँ उत्तर प्रदेश में बीएसपी की अकेले ही पूर्ण बहुमत की सरकार बनाई जा सके।
The BJP, on the other hand, accuses Samajwadi Party of trying to divert attention from its failures. The party says it will fight assembly polls on the development plank of the Narendra Modi government. The Congress, however, still hopes for a truce but signals support to Akhilesh Yadav.
संगठन के माध्यम से पहले भी चुनाव की पूरी तैयारी हमारी हो चुकी है, और अब उनका एक धड़ा है, 2 धड़ा है, इससे कोई फर्क बीजेपी को नहीं पड़ने वाला है। अभी जो इसका कितना प्रभाव है? इसका कोई प्रभाव नहीं है, और पहले भी हमारे राष्ट्रीय नेतृत्व ने कह रखा है कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी का जो चीफ मिनिस्टर है वो कमल का फूल है। हम चुनाव लड़ेंगे और चुनाव जीतेंगे।
कांग्रेस पार्टी के बारे में हमेशा मुख्यमंत्री श्री अखिलेश यादव बयानबाजी करते रहे हैं, और अभी हमारे हाईकमान का क्या फैसला होगा ये तो नहीं हम कह सकते, लेकिन जिस तरह की चर्चा चल रही है उसमें अखिलेश यादव अगर कोई प्रस्ताव लेके जाते हैं तो उस पर शायद सोचा जाए, लेकिन अभी तक तो हम 403 सीटों की लड़ने की तैयारी कर रहे हैं।
Akhilesh Yadav's uncle and close confidant Ram Gopal Yadav has claimed that a majority of Samajwadi legislators back the chief minister, so he is the rightful claimant for the party symbol. Mulayam's group too is expected to hand the poll panel affidavits of its supporters. The election commission will then decide which faction will get the old Samajwadi election symbol, the cycle.
Endeavours to forge a truce between the warring factions of the Samajwadi Party have escalated since the declaration of poll dates. But there are little chances of any breakthrough. The question is, will both Akhilesh and Mulayam end up paying a heavy price for the family tussle? Reporting from Lucknow, with camera person Shiv Kumar, I'm Kriti Mishra for Rajya Sabha Television.
Kriti Mishra is in fact joining us now live from Lucknow. Kriti, good evening. By the looks of it, of course, like you're pointing out, there is obviously no pact between both sides that we are likely to see as far as the truce is concerned. But Akhilesh Yadav, at least his side, is going ahead with election campaigning, talking about a manifesto, submitting those affidavits to the Election Commission, trying to show that it has the support of all the MLAs and the MLCs and the party workers as well. But nothing of that sort we are seeing from the Mulayam camp.
Well, that's right, Tracy. Chances of a reconciliation now look bleak. In fact, Chief Minister's confidants were telling me today that they have already started preparing the manifesto, and the highlight of the manifesto would be distribution of smartphone. In fact, Akhilesh Yadav, his government has already asked people to register for smartphones. So there are a number of issues that would find mention in Akhilesh's manifesto. On the other side, as far as Mulayam's faction is concerned, they're still quiet about it. They're just saying that as far as the rules are concerned, they would get the party symbol, and Mulayam Singh Yadav's Samajwadi Party is the original Samajwadi Party. So right now, probably they're trying to settle this issue. But as far as Akhilesh's camp is concerned, they're saying that they're going ahead with the manifesto, they're going ahead with election preparations, and they're not bothered for any kind of truce. Tracy?
And do you think this could have a bearing on the Election Commission's decision on which side would in fact get the symbol, considering the fact that Akhilesh is continuously showing that he has the support of the party workers with him, he has the numbers with him, the very fact that he is seriously going ahead with election campaigning, the fact that his side is going ahead with a manifesto. Do you think this is going to show, on the decision that the Election Commission is going to take? What are the indications you're getting from that side?
Well, Tracy, January 9th is the day when both the parties have to make representation before the Election Commission. Now, Election Commission of India, according to experts, may freeze the symbol and give ad hoc name and interim symbols to both the camps. Now, how difficult or how easy would it be for both the camps to propagate the new symbol, to propagate the new name? That remains a point of focus. But as far as the Election Commission is concerned, Election Commission has maintained that it will go by the rules and the conventions. Tracy?
And Kriti, very quickly, on the ground, what is the sense that you're getting from the people? As far as the voters are concerned, are they equally confused as the Samajwadi Party workers, or is there, a sort of a leaning now towards Mayawati or perhaps to other parties or towards Akhilesh?
Well, there's a lot of confusion in the party cadre at least, because they're unaware who's the national president of the party. They do not even know whether a party's name, the Samajwadi Party, would remain valid in the upcoming elections. As far as the voters are concerned, they definitely do not appreciate this ongoing tussle in the ruling party. So probably they'll calibrate very carefully whether they'll have to give the majority to BSP or the BJP. But on the ground, the situation looks grim. The voters are equally confused as the party cadre. Tracy?
All right, we'll leave it there for now. Kriti, thanks so much for joining us with those details, continuing to get us, of course, what has been the big story in the past 1 week at least on the Samajwadi Party's tussle that we are seeing. Thanks so much for joining us. Meanwhile, the budget session of Parliament will begin on the 31st of January, a day before the Union budget is likely to be presented. According to an official notification, President Pranab Mukherjee has summoned the Rajya Sabha to meet on the 31st of January. A similar notification is also expected from the Lok Sabha Secretariat. Earlier, the Election Commission had sought the centre's response on the opposition's objection to presenting the budget on the 1st of February, right before the assembly polls of 5 states. Chief Election Commissioner Naseem Zaidi has written to Cabinet Secretary P.K. Sinha seeking the response. The Cabinet Secretary has been asked to respond by the 10th of January. However, the Prime Minister said during his speech to the BJP National Executive that the budget will be presented on the 1st of February as planned. And here are some more national news updates in Nationwide. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister O. Pannirselvam wrote to his Andhra Pradesh counterpart highlighting a deficient, weak northeast monsoon and meagre storage in city reservoirs. He sought personal intervention in the matter for immediate release of the Krishna waters. The water level in Chennai's reservoirs is very low and the storage currently available is not enough to meet drinking water supply requirements. Meghalaya independent legislator Julius K. Dorphang, who is wanted in a case of sexual exploitation of a 14-year-old girl, was arrested in Guwahati on Friday night. Dorphang was brought to Shillong after his arrest. The Meghalaya police issued a lookout notice to nab the absconding legislator in the case, and on the 4th of January, a local court issued a non-bailable arrest warrant against Dorphang, following which the manhunt began to nab him. The Patiala House Court on Saturday issued a fresh non-bailable warrant against British national Christian Michel, the alleged middleman in the Augusta Westland chopper deal. The court issued the warrant as the accused failed to appear before it on Saturday. The next hearing is scheduled for the 22nd of February. Portuguese Prime Minister Antonio Costa arrived in India on a 7-day visit to enhance India-Portugal relationship to strategic levels. Costa was accorded a guard of honor in the presidential palace at the presence of Prime Minister Modi in New Delhi. Costa hoped to lay a strong foundation for bilateral ties during his talks with the Prime Minister. Normal life in Kashmir was disrupted on Saturday as separatists resumed their shutdown against the killing of Hizbul Mujahideen militant Burhan Wani in July last year. Markets remained shut and armed security personnel manned the largely deserted streets amid moderate rain and snowfall in Srinagar. And speaking of the rain and snowfall, cold wave conditions intensified further in North India after a fresh spell of moderate snowfall and rains. Normal life was thrown out of gear as the Kashmir Valley received its heaviest snowfall this season. Operations on the Srinagar International Airport were suspended and all flights remained cancelled for the day as well. A medium danger avalanche warning was issued for the next 24 hours for areas located above the 2,800 meters in North Kashmir. And despite the inconvenience, residents and tourists in the valley and Himachal Pradesh enjoyed the very first snowfall of the season.
जो मैंने पहले सुना था कि सही माने में कश्मीर जन्नत है अगर दुनिया में है तो आज सही में वैसा लग रहा है, मैं फील कर रहा हूँ।
बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है, पहली बार ऐसा फील कर रहे हैं। बहुत ऑसम है ये और लकी है कि आज हुई बर्फबारी, वरना हम आज मिस कर जाते हैं।
बर्फबारी बहुत अच्छी लग रही है, इसके लिए कश्मीरी भी तरस रहे थे।
How to take this IIT into the elite. More importantly, we want to go to the global rankings. If we cannot excel ourselves, why should the best in the world will come and collaborate with us? And there, I think, we are rapidly progressing. When you think of science, don't just think of what you see. Think of what is there beyond that.
Watch Eureka with Professor S.K. Das, Director, IIT Ropar on Rajya Sabha Television.
Hello and welcome to India's World.
Rohingyas are not really an ethnic group. It is a political construction.
It's not only the position against the Rohingyas. You have to recognize that there is a communal problem out there, which is an anti-Muslim problem.
The Haraka al-Yaqeen has linkages and has patrons and has inspiration from the broader Islamist jihadist movement and in fact support.
Watch experts debate Myanmar crisis as it pushes Rohingyas to extremism. Only on India's World on Rajya Sabha TV.
Welcome back. International news. And a U.S. intelligence report claimed that Russian President Vladimir Putin sought to help Donald Trump win the presidential election held in November last year. The unclassified report said that the Russian leader ordered a campaign aimed at influencing the election. The report also claimed that Russia's goals were to undermine public faith in the U.S. democratic process and denigrate Democrat opponent Hillary Clinton. There is no reaction from Moscow yet, but Russia has denied such claims in the past. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump said that hacking by foreign powers did not affect the final outcome of the presidential election, but he rather blamed the Democratic Party for allowing Russian hackers to breach its computer systems. And staying with the U.S., another mass shooting incident took place yesterday at Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. A suspected Army veteran has been charged with the shooting, and that left 5 people dead and 8 wounded. Authorities are probing all angles to understand the motive behind the incident.
At least 5 people were killed and 8 others injured in a shooting incident at the Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. The second largest airport in South Florida serves as an intercontinental gateway. A 26-year-old Army veteran, identified as Esteban Santiago, reportedly opened fire in Terminal 2 of the baggage area. Florida Governor Rick Scott assured speedy justice in the incident.
We'll never tolerate things like this in our state. Whoever is responsible will do everything we can to hold them accountable. We will never let anybody off the hook. We'll hold them accountable to the full extent of the law.
According to authorities, Santiago reached Fort Lauderdale on Friday afternoon on a connecting flight from Alaska. He retrieved a 9mm semi-automatic handgun from his checked luggage and started firing indiscriminately. Federal investigators are pursuing all angles to determine the motive.
Investigation not only here in South Florida, but in several other states as we try to pursue the suspect's activities leading up to today's horrific incident.
Santiago reportedly served from 2007 to 2016 in the Puerto Rico National Guard and the Alaska National Guard. He was also deployed in Iraq from 2010 to 2011. Last year, he was discharged from the Alaska Army National Guard due to his unsatisfactory performance. He is currently undergoing treatment for mental health issues. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And here are more international news updates in Global Buzz. Pakistan's military courts that were established after the Army public school attack in Peshawar were discontinued from today. The courts were established through a constitutional amendment after the horrendous attack in Peshawar on the 16th of December in 2014. The courts were set up to enforce speedy trial of hardcore militants after the deadly Taliban attack that killed nearly 150 children. Pakistan's former military chief General Raheel Sharif was named as the head of the 39-nation Islamic military coalition to combat terrorism. Sharif retired as army chief in November and has been succeeded by General Qamar Javed Bajwa. The Saudi Arabia-led 39-nation military alliance was formed last year to combat terrorism. At least 12 people were killed after heavy rains caused severe flooding in southern Thailand. Hundreds and thousands of people were affected as water levels reached roof-high in some areas and submerged many villages. The flash floods also damaged hundreds of schools and toppled power cables. Thai Navy is helping out with the rescue and relief operations. All right, and now let's get you all the latest from the world of sports in Sports Beat. The Indian doubles pair of Divij Sharan and Purav Raja reached the final of the Chennai Open after beating second-seeded Argentinian duo of Guillermo Duran and Andre Molteni in straight sets. The pair won 6-4, 6-2 and will meet the winner of the second semi-final between India's Rohan Bopanna and N. Jeevan and the American Kiwi team of Nicholas Monroe and Artem Sitak. World number 1 Andy Murray will face defending champion Novak Djokovic in the Qatar Open final. Murray beat third-seeded Thomas Berdych in the semis 6-3, 6-4, while Djokovic overcame a challenge in fact from Spaniard Fernando Verdasco. World number 2 survived the 5 match points before winning 4-6, 7-6, 6-3. Manchester City thrashed West Ham 5-0 in the third round of the FA Cup, inflicting the heaviest defeat to their Premier League rival in the tournament. City took a 3-0 lead at half-time thanks to an own goal from West Ham and goals from Yaya Toure and David Silva. Aguero and Stones then added 2 more in the second half to complete City's rout. That's all we have for you on the news at 6. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a good evening.